WMSC Upper Montclair. I'm your host, Gabi Lutz, and in studio with me, I have so many people as always. As always, I have my co-host, Terry Dickerson.
Hey.
Then from my left to my right, I have the love Dr. Ian Love. Then I've got my rising star, Ella Rising. And then I have the brains in the Braun, Alex Braun.
Look at that. I like that.
Isn't
I
that
never
nice?
thought of that.
Really? I thought of that like
That was clever.
3 weeks ago.
Was a
Was
We
that?
have a great show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the Michigan State University shooting, the Brooklyn U-Haul not accident. It was not an accident. And we're going to be speaking with Dr. Joseph Segriff and so much more. So I hope you're excited. But first, we have to get to our news update. Ella Rising, my rising star.
Good morning. I'm Ella, and this is your news for today. The large and long-standing Subway Corporation is making its biggest menu changes ever, including new ingredients and new sandwiches. These changes will include better quality ingredients and more innovative sandwich options, which will also result in an increase in prices for consumers. New Jersey Governor Phil Murray is currently working to expand the AP African American Studies program. This would include expanding this program to 26 schools across the state. For today's weather, it is currently a little cloudy, 41 degrees. It may rain within the hour. Today we have a high of 64 and a low of 39. That's all I have for you right now. Back to you.
Thank you, Ella. And as I look at the Zoom screen, I see Ian Love's whole face has just kept glitching. That was really interesting. But we're gonna move on.
the sports.
I love that I didn't even have to say her name. Thank you. That was amazing.
Yes, it's me, Alex, and I got your sports news for today. In hockey, last night the New Jersey Devils won 3-2 against the Blue Jackets, and tonight the New York Rangers will be playing the Vancouver Canucks. And in NBA, the new Brooklyn Nets will be facing the Miami Heat at 7:30. And at the same time, the New York Knicks will be playing the Atlanta Hawks. So I can't wait to see those two games. And we're only 9 days away from the first spring training game of the season. I can't wait for baseball. And for Montclair sports news, in the men's basketball game, the Redhawks will be playing tonight as they're away at Glassboro, New Jersey, to face Rowan at 7:30. And the women's Red Hawk team is the same thing. They'll be facing in Glassboro, New Jersey against Rowan at 5:30 p.m. I've been Alex, and this has been Sports.
Thank you, Alex.
Sports.
That was lovely. I really did appreciate that. Can't believe they're going towards my hometown. That's crazy.
I know. Home sweet home, Gab.
Ugh.
Home sweet home.
I hope
Just
they
a big
win.
ick.
Go Red Hawks.
Go Red Hawks.
So let's get into the stories. Shall
All right.
we?
Let's take it away. We got our first story today coming out of Michigan State. The killer had a note that threatened 2 New Jersey schools during that Michigan State shooting that just happened. According to NJ.com, the gunman responsible for the death of 3 students at Michigan State University was found with a note in his pocket before taking his life that contained threats against 2 schools in New Jersey. The schools mentioned are Ewing High School and Fisher Middle School from Mercer County and were closed due to the threat. Ewing police spokesman said, quote, "I am not aware of the contents of the note other than that a threat to Ewing was mentioned," end quote. The shooter, Anthony McRae, lived in Ewing, New Jersey, but hasn't resided in the area for several years. Yesterday, Tuesday Morning Buzz host Jake Getz and Aiden Ivers conducted an interview with Delaney Rogers, station manager at 88.9 Impact Radio, Michigan State University's own campus radio station. Here's that interview right now.
Delaney.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us this morning after an absolutely chaotic and heartbreaking night. We wanted to ask, did you get any sleep?
Not much, to be honest. Was in and out of sleep for the last couple hours.
The recent reports overnight regarding this tragedy, there has been a great response of law enforcement. We've been hearing that there have been hundreds of law enforcement responses throughout campus. And where were you during the time when law enforcement started to be more prominent across your campus? And were you alone or were you with others?
I was with others. A group of us meet every Monday night to watch The Bachelor. So I was there. We were getting ready, waiting for everybody, and we noticed the sirens around us. We heard the noises. We kept seeing lights. We didn't think anything of it at first. And then after a while, we're like, oh, why is there so many sirens and noises? And then we eventually found out.
Yeah, you can imagine just family and friends texting nonstop. What was going through your head as this was all unraveling?
Just checking in on people was the first thing that went through my mind, I think. Around that time is when a group of people that I know usually go to the MSU Union, which is one of the second locations that the suspect went into. And I was just frantically calling all of them to make sure that they were safe and they weren't at that location at the time, which they weren't, thankfully. One of my coworkers was, but he was thankfully safe. So I think just checking in on everybody I possibly could to see if they were on the bus that was near the Union, near north side of campus, and just checking in on as many people as possible was my first thought.
Again, with this news reporting that we've been hearing throughout the night, we've learned that 5 people from your campus are in critical condition and 3 have been killed. Do you know if the people involved were all students, or were they some faculty, or were they mixed?
They aren't releasing the information from what I've seen so far. I've been trying to sift through and dissect what's being released by the news and the police, but there have been nothing. There's not been anything confirmed yet if they're students, faculty, or anybody else.
Yeah, and Michigan State University is the largest university in Michigan. Is Michigan State University closed campus, or is it accessible to, is it open or is it public?
I would say it's relatively open. It's also very residential, so people in the area can drive through it very easily.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, how did you receive information and updates about the ongoing attack, and how soon did you see it?
MSU sent emails out periodically to the students saying run, hide, fight, and we tuned into the police radio feed as well. And before I even received any sort of emails, one of my friends was saying that her friend was in one of the buildings. So that's how we got the news at first before we received any further emails. We were a little bit confused and very nervous because we didn't receive anything. We just kept hearing these stories from others.
And during when this story really started to explode throughout our news media, your campus's radio station was actually playing Latin music through automation. And was there anybody behind the board during that time? Was there anybody on air, or was that just computer automated playing by itself?
There was somebody on air at the time, and we got in contact with her. There were several other people at the radio station at the time recording podcasts. So they all were able to get into our server room, and they hung out there together. I think there were about 5 girls there. And it was one of the person who was on for the Latin music show was one of her first shifts as well. So we were multiple people were checking in with her.
Wow. Yeah, and we wanted to ask, just because we know here at Montclair, WMSE is, we try to be a community. Do you have any thoughts or plans to kind of utilize your radio station as a community to aid in the healing process at all?
Absolutely. We utilize Slack to communicate with one another. So as things were happening, there was a constant flow of messages throughout that in the general channel, checking in on one another, making sure everybody was accounted for any team meetings that were happening that night. And our e-board is meeting in a couple hours at 10 a.m. to talk about what we should do as next steps. And in the future, we were just starting our spring 1 round hiring and have to probably postpone a lot of those interviews as well to accommodate for the circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we'll continue to, I'm sure we'll all continue to follow the information. Delaney Rogers, thank you so much for joining us again.
Yes, thank you. I
very much.
appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You as well.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to Michigan State at this time. But for right now, we're going to go on a quick break here on the Morning Buzz, and we will be right back. So stay tuned.
No word in the English language is less convincing than
And we are back here on the Morning Buzz, and we've got more stories to talk about. So let's chat about the Brooklyn U-Haul driver that was suffering from a mental health crisis. And of course, he went on a violent rampage throughout Brooklyn. So according to ABC News, the U-Haul driver responsible for striking 9 people with a rented truck in Brooklyn was suffering from a mental health crisis and was off his medication. Suspect Wang Sor told New York police that he saw something invisible come towards his car, and that caused him to have a violent rampage through Brooklyn. Sor was charged with 1 count of murder and 7 counts of attempted murder. 4 people are hospitalized because of this incident, and Sor lived with his mother in Las Vegas and has 8 prior arrests from DWIs, evading a police officer, resisting arrest, and so much more that dates back to 2002.
This is interesting because I want to know what the process is to like rent a U-Haul, or if, whether this person was working for U-Haul or he had just rented out a U-Haul, because for someone who has DWIs under his belt and evading the police officers and things like that, have all of these charges under your belt already, this person should have never been behind the wheel to begin with. Well, I guess that also chalks up to whether his license got revoked. So if he still had his license, then like I guess he legally was able to.
Yeah.
But I think this is a really frustrating situation because unfortunately he did suffer the mental health crisis and things like that. But also, why did he have his license still? I'm really curious to like know those details, but unfortunately we don't know those details.
I think it all goes through, a point system, right? So I mean, I guess if you
that's
the amount
true.
of points, then you still have your license, but I don't really know that for sure, like we don't know exactly what his case scenario was,
That's
but
true.
it is pretty easy to rent a U-Haul. I do know that for a fact. You basically just have to have like a license and pay like the little fee. And that's about it. So it's really not that difficult to. But he rented the U-Haul for 30 days in Florida and made it all the way to New York.
That's insane.
So I mean,
he had to get somewhere.
It feels like he had somewhere to go.
Yeah, and I'm just curious of like from traveling from Florida to Brooklyn, where the misstep of like taking your meds was, and like I hope he gets the help that he needs, because obviously many have suffered on account of him not taking his meds, and
I wonder if he's even on meds.
Yeah, that's true.
That's something we don't know, but
that's true. Well, according to the story, he was off his medication.
Okay.
It seems that he is like medicated for whatever mental health issue he has, but it's really upsetting to see like when someone doesn't take their meds and like what the potential it could have. And like this isn't to say that all people with mental health issues who
Are
don't
gonna
take their
go
meds
on-
are going to go on a rampage like this, right?
No,
But it's, I think, an important reminder to continue with your treatment if
yeah,
like if prescribed by a
Mhm.
doctor and things like
I know
that.
for sure. I always try and make sure that the people I care about are continuing with their treatment.
Yeah, for sure.
Including myself. So it's always smart to
Yeah,
make
so
sure that
another
we do that.
instance where unfortunately lives are lost, hearts go out to those victims, but we
Mhm.
can go on to our next story for today. US officials are saying unidentified flying objects could actually be harmless. As someone who's afraid of UFOs, this is really, really interesting. So, according to the New York Times, top White House officials said that the 3 flying objects that were shot down in the last week could be harmless. A spokesman for the National Security Council, John Kirby, said they have not found evidence that the objects were connected to China's program of balloon surveillance. Kirby said, and quote, "We haven't seen any indication or anything that points specifically to the idea that these 3 objects were part of the PRC's spying program, or that they were definitively involved in external intelligence collection efforts," end quote. The Pentagon also confirmed that the first missile fired in Lake Huron missed the shot. American fighter jets have shot down 3 flying objects in Alaska and Canada. The chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, General Mark A. Milley, said, and quote, "First shot missed, second shot hit. We go to great lengths to make sure the airspace is clear and the backdrop is clear up to the max effective range of the missile." Well, I don't know how reassured I feel that these unidentified flying objects could be harmless, just because if I see something in the air, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna freak out. But to some extent, I feel reassured that these objects aren't completely connected to the spying program.
Mhm.
But I still don't feel very at ease to know that there were other UFOs
Yeah.
that could potentially
I'm
connected to
I am
something else.
quite shocked that they didn't just like confirm that it wasn't the China balloon surveillance, and then just go and straight take that to Area 51 and be like,
Right.
we don't know what's going on.
We don't know what's happening. Like, it's like, okay, great. We're not being spied on more, even though we maybe are, one door closes doesn't mean there's aren't several open.
Yeah.
However, now it begs the question, where did the other 3 come from?
Exactly.
Who's looking at us? Or did someone just make a really weird science project that day? And
That would be interesting.
now it's a little concerning.
But
I
you
don't
can't help but be concerned about it, right?
be concerned if I hear about a UFO going around the country and I'm like, oh, hey, person,
What
guy,
if-
whatever.
What if it's somebody just trying to freak everybody out?
I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised,
because of everything that's going on. with
America loves their haha laughs.
but it's not haha. That's
It's
the worst
like,
part.
that's
no
the thing.
haha laughs.
And it's not
No.
funny. So hypothetically, if there's a person out there operating their little UFO,
Their little drone.
their little drone, stop it. It's not funny. I'm scared.
Mom, I want to go home.
Mom, I want to go home. Pick me up. Seriously. But in all honesty, I don't really know how to feel when okay. So I'm not like a conspiracy theorist person, right? I'm just not that. But like if someone were to say, oh yeah, there's this thing floating around in the sky, like we got it, nothing to worry about, and it's also not connected to the PRC. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, but whom, what, when, where, why? You know what I mean?
Whom, what, when,
Like,
where, why,
The-
how?
The journalist and also just nosy individual in me wants to know like why
Exactly.
these
No,
things are in the
I
air.
get
But
that.
then that's the question we don't get answered, which is really, really intriguing to me. So
you watch.
hopefully,
We'll never hear about it again, and truly, it'll be an area.
yes, and truthfully, we'll be in Area 51. But we'll see.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. Maybe I'll be in Area 51. Maybe. Because
Terry, are you telling us something?
I don't know because people aren't telling me anything. So
Unidentified Terry.
Terry.
unidentified Terry in
Extra
the air.
extra terrestrial.
Oh, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
That was a good
That was a
one.
pretty good one. I
That
would
was
say.
a good one.
Thank you. I needed that confirmation. Thanks, Alex.
certified. That was a good one.
I wasn't planning on that, but it worked.
No, like you're so clever.
Oh my God, I know. So let's talk about California. Not that it has anything to do with
California dreaming.
You're California dreaming.
Not really.
I know same-sex couples are California dreaming.
Yeah, I lie.
I lie. California plans to enshrine same-sex marriage. So 2 California legislators want to enshrine same-sex marriage for the Golden State by repealing an old law that banned it from happening. State Senators Scott Weiner and Evan Lowe presented a new legislation that will need to be voted on by the legislature, 2/3 vote, and become a referendum for voters to decide. Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, showed his supports for the bill. Newsom said, end quote, "It's time that our laws affirm marriage equality regardless of who you are or who you love. California stands with the LGBTQ plus community and their right to live freely," end quote. If this gets approved, California will join the states like Nevada with laws and constitutional amendments that protect same-sex marriage.
No, that's right.
Hi.
No, that's right.
That's the good news I like to hear.
I love this. I love, like, what is there to be said other than people's rights are being protected? And like,
Exactly.
you know, I can't say anything more.
You can't be against that. I mean, well, there are people that are against that.
There are.
But you can't be against that, in my opinion. In my sincere opinion, I think it's something that I'm very excited about. Personally, not that I live in California. But if I one day chose to live in California,
You can get married.
I mean, I could probably get married anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, I then have that right of like,
Yeah.
you know, say a pretty lady walks by.
Pretty late.
I could get married.
No, that's so real. And like, I think it's important, honestly, for other states to look at these states who have already done it and use that as an example. You know,
Yeah.
some states are more conservative than others. What can be done about that?
California is not that one, though.
Yeah, California is not the one. And to continue to advocate to have your rights codified and enshrined into
Mhm.
your own legislation is so, I feel so empowered to
Yeah.
know that other people in other states want it as much as everybody else
Yeah.
does, especially being a queer woman myself. It's very reassuring that hope is not lost.
Hope is still there.
Yeah.
I know. But I can't help but like be curious to the fact of, not curious, but like shocked. That's the word I'm looking for. Shocked at the fact that it's California. Like I would have been less shocked if it was like, I don't know, Kansas, you know?
Yeah.
But I would have thought California already had like all of this.
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of people, when the homophobic legislation started coming out of like the Capitol and the Supreme Court, and then that document came out after, I think it was after Roe v. Wade got overturned. And then in that document that they had like talked about what was next on the docket, they had mentioned same-sex marriage. And then I think that's when a lot of not only citizens, but more progressive legislators got really nervous for the overturning of same-sex marriage. And now people are just making sure it's codified in their own constitutions and things, just so that they have that covered, you know.
Of
God
course.
forbid if that were to happen, knock on wood, our Supreme Court has some sense, but they have
hope and pray, but
hope and pray. But I really appreciate the preventative measures so that queer people have refuge somewhere. God forbid again that the same-sex marriage gets overturned, people are not completely hopeless. Hope is not lost.
Hope is not lost.
Hope is not lost.
Hope is there. Hope is alive.
Yeah, you just gotta really, really search for it sometimes, but like,
But it's there.
I swear.
It's there.
Swear it's there.
Promise.
Right.
Wouldn't be here if it was.
All right, we're gonna go on to our next story before we have a really exciting interview coming up. But our next story, Nikki Haley announces Republican bid for president. Republican Nikki Haley announces her presidential bid for the 2024 general election. She was a governor in South Carolina and a United States ambassador for the United Nations. Haley released a video yesterday declaring her candidacy. This makes Haley the first Republican to officially challenge former President Donald Trump. Some Republicans are expected to announce presidential campaigns. It are Governor Ron DeSantis, former Vice President Mike Pence, and former Secretary of the State Mike Pompeo. So here's how I watched Nikki Haley's announcement video, actually.
Okay. And how did you feel?
I hated it.
Oh,
Personally, I did.
delightful.
But aside from that, some points I took away from it before I had to turn it off because I was just really frustrated about the structure of the video was one of her main talking points was the fact that she felt as though, as someone who came from a family of Indian immigrants, that people's discourse on racism in America was not valid, and
Good.
that we are very lucky to live in America. And she also mentioned how, like, oh, real racism is the genocide that is happening in China, or real genocide is racism to Muslim people in other countries, and all these things. And I just thought that was such a tone deaf take.
Mhm.
Tone deaf to the system that America has created, tone deaf to the feedback that's being said by Americans who are suffering as a result of the system, the inherently racist system that is in place in America. And so watching that announcement video, immediate turnoff for me.
Yeah.
And again, this is my own take, but at the same time, watching that, I'm like, you see how they're using propaganda in order to get traction, which is what every politician does, but it's just so frustrating to see when these people are supposed to be our future leaders. You're supposed to be educated.
You know, on both sides, whether it's Democrat or Republican, I would like to see less propaganda,
Yes.
more like genuine, which
Be
the term
straight up.
politician literally does not have genuine anywhere in
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't click.
Playing field, but you know, I wish that would change, and there
Right.
would be a little bit more of genuine things said and announced. And I mean, I personally can't be against anybody running against Donald Trump, but
Yeah, but still, I was very, very concerned.
I'm still looking for that right candidate, and I'm not finding it.
I'm not
so.
finding it either. And in her video as well, when she was talking about racism in America, she had videos of protests. She had videos of like AOC speaking, because like AOC tends to be the boogie woman of the Democratic Party, and people are like, yeah, she's too, you know how people act with AOC. But my that's my biggest frustration, is just like, you want to advocate for change in this country, yet you don't understand
The change that's needed.
the change that is needed. Like, when we see all these different issues when it comes to like racism and gun legislation, all these hot button topics where people are just going back and forth, but people overall just want change, and they want to feel safe and secure in the environment that we're living in. That's the common thread. We don't.
Yep. And there's a happy medium somewhere in there for every party. We just have to be able
Exactly.
to find it. And I don't know, maybe we need somebody who's like an independent party to come in and just
That's what I'm saying.
figure it out. You know?
I think we completely need a change from the two-party system, even though people like to claim that we don't have a two-party system, because people from other parties are more than welcome to run.
Yeah.
But that's historically,
they just
they don't ever do well. I think we need more.
I wish they would, though.
A little history, major fact.
Do it.
George Washington
I
was
know.
very opposed of a two-party system. He said if we have a two-party system in America, America would fail as a nation.
And look what's
And I
happening.
was gonna say, like, where we're coming from.
And look at where we're now.
Seriously, and on a technicality, that's someone's main arguing point, is that, oh, technically it's not a two-party system. But look, when election time comes up and you have different independent parties, no one's getting through the primaries.
People get angry at those who vote independently.
Yeah, because people
It's a waste of a vote.
yeah,
But it's not, it's not a waste of
it
a
shouldn't
vote.
be viewed as that.
If
And
more people voted independently, then it would
maybe
actually be
would turn the
better.
tides,
Maybe, yeah.
because I feel like people always feel the need to go one side or the other, and regardless of where you lean, overall, it shouldn't just be like a, if you're with us, you're against us thing.
Yeah.
So
I
we'll
don't know.
see what else comes out of
We
this
can
new election
hope for
season.
some good candidates to come out of this next election. Fingers crossed. But for now, we're gonna go on the quickest break ever. Probably not the quickest break, but pretty quick break. And then when we get back, we have an interview with Dr. Joseph Segriff, a professor here at Montclair State. So stay tuned for the Morning Buzz.
Good morning, folks. Can you hear me? Hope they hear me. I know what. Gabby or Terry, can you hear me? They're not on yet, I guess. Oh, 30 seconds.
And we are back here on the Morning Buzz, and we do, in fact, have a guest right now. Today, we are joined by Dr. Joseph Segriff, a professor here at Montclair State University that teaches 2 fundamentals of speech classes. However, today we want to talk about him and his 24 college and university degrees. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Okay, good morning, Terry and Gabby and Ian and Alex and Ella and Victor. And I share some of your thoughts, interesting conversation, and maybe Michelle Obama.
Maybe.
Oh, I would be down for that. Love a good Michelle Obama
I
moment.
doubt it, but I think there's a possibility she'll have a change of heart, hopefully.
There's been some rumors.
There's been some rumors. I think anything will happen.
Anything
And
can.
2024 is full of surprises.
That's
Well,
true.
we certainly need some answers.
Absolutely.
I
And
agree.
we need some answers to know about these 24 college degrees that you have going on. So are you planning on having any more degrees? Are we rounding this 24 up to 30? What's happening here?
Well, I kind of take it as an ongoing organic process, but the way I would answer that is do plan on continuing with school. And since community college is kind of a twofold advantage for me, it's cheaper. And I like to go into areas that I'm not used to, like science, even though I'm getting more used to being a STEM student after having accumulated some science degrees, but I'm not great in math. But anyhow, I want to kind of continue this journey, this sojourn out, because I kind of look at it as stepping into my own shadow. And I'm just the opposite of an escapist. I try to become more of who I felt I was meant to be. So the answer is yes, that I plan to continue on to school. And if my grades keep up, maybe I'll have a couple more degrees.
Well, I guess we'll have to keep up with you and see what goes on in the future. So how did this drive to learn and obtain more academic credentials start?
I think it kind of starts from looking at the word, kind of an American word, unfortunately, of success, which usually means material success, a lot of money and all that. And I kind of clap back against that, if you will, that I think really success should be something where you're judging yourself by an earlier version of yourself, not judging yourself by the hegemony or what society thinks, which would be, of course, American dream. And that's fine if someone wants to follow that American dream mythology. But for me, I like to follow my own dreams. I'm an individual, aside from a socialization process, which certainly heavily influenced me, no doubt, as it does with everybody else. But I have my own views, and growth and success to me is all about self-efficacy, feeling that you're a person who's effective. And an effective way of leading my life is really following my passion, which in the one hand is totally impractical. But in the other hand, if it makes me happy, which it does, it makes me fulfilled, which it also does, I think that's the most practical thing anybody can do.
Absolutely. And going off of that self-efficacy aspect that you had mentioned, talk a little bit about why that is such an inspiration for you and why you using that as a driving force to work towards so many degrees.
I think a lot of the reason that it's such an inspiration for me is because I always saw myself as an academic when I was in high school. I knew I wanted to teach. There wasn't anything else I really wanted to do other than teach, and perhaps even become a counselor, and I've got a pretty good background in psychology. Getting up there a little bit in years, I'd like to work in another doctorate, and this would be a PsyD in psychology. And if that happens, it happens. But I think I saw myself as always wanting to be a teacher, but not simply a teacher, but someone who, can achieve as much as they possibly can. And even though a lot of people will, sometimes make fun of the PhD, you hear all these terms piled high and deep and all this type of stuff. But the PhD in a way is kind of the gold standard of degrees. And I thought, to really feel like I'm fulfilling as much as I can, I have to fulfill myself as a student first. Then I feel more comfortable teaching, knowing I've done the most I can do. And after I got my PhD, I said, hey, this has been quite a ride. I like the work. I like the rush. I like not sleeping a lot, getting up and having more work to do. And I'm not really overly concerned about the money, which of course is a good thing because, on a practical level, there's not a lot of money in teaching, but I'm not really attracted to that part of it. I just like the fact of being an academic environment, the nice reciprocity, which is very constructive between myself and my students, and also on occasion we have time between myself and colleagues. So I really see myself in very much ensconced in kind of an academic line of work, but more importantly, an academic lifestyle. So that's really been appealing to me. I mean, I told somebody the other day, when I was 58, I felt like I was 18, still look like 18. When I got to be 60, I really felt like 60. And now I'm 67. Boy, I really feel like it, So I get those little aches and stuff. But anyhow, I just enjoy the academic life. I think school is where I like to be, in front of the class, in the class. And there's no other place I'd rather be than that. People can travel around the world, and I understand that. I was an anthropology major. I love culture. But I still think you can travel in your mind to a lot of places, especially if you read a lot.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, they say the more you learn, the younger you stay. So, I mean, you're basically still 18, right?
Pretty much. I'm not even sure if I give myself that much credit. Some people that know me might think with my silly boyishness, I'm even younger than that. But I do think you have to be kind of boyish. I think you have to be kind of a young person, still thirsty, and not thirsty simply because, this is going to lead to a better job. That's kind of a mirage thinking. I think that the real thing is that if you're fulfilling something and you're a passionate person, which I think we all have the potential for passion, but passion in some level becomes very impractical. But that's the beauty of it. That's where you're taking a chance of it, but you're fulfilling yourself. And no amount of income will really do that for you. And income is not positively correlated with intelligence, IQ, anything. So it's fleeting. I don't remember how I spent my last $100. I don't even remember the last time I had a $100 bill, frankly. But I will remember my grades I will remember courses I took. And I will remember, taking a long haul on the New Jersey Transit, going down to something like Monmouth University, having to walk a mile off after I'm off the bus, looking back and say, boy, this is ridiculous. I'm going for a degree I don't need. But in a way, I do need it because it's part of fulfilling myself as an individual.
Of course.
Absolutely. And knowledge is definitely power. And speaking of knowledge, you do teach courses here at Montclair State. You teach 2 sections of fundamentals of speech. But considering your background, have you considered teaching other courses on campus or at other institutions, considering you have such an extensive knowledge on so many different things?
Well, I have taught a number of courses at other institutions, but I find with going to school and doing the 2 courses that I teach at Montclair, it really keeps me plenty busy. For instance, last semester, I had 12 courses. 3 I taught at Montclair because I had to fill in for one professor who had taken a job elsewhere partway through the semester. So I picked up that course, and then I had 9 others at about 4 or 5 other colleges. So it kept me really busy, but I have taught a lot of other courses. I taught writing quite a bit. I taught some psychology. I had a chance early on to teach anthropology in prison, but not while I was in prison as an inmate, but while I was there for a few hours teaching my inmate students. And it's very funny because the guards always said to me, Professor, you got to be aware of one thing. He said, what's that? He says, where is the door and where are you? And where are your students? And I always kind of remembered that because I ran into some pretty funky situations when I was teaching college in a correctional facility years ago. And one of the courses I taught was anthropology, but it was really rewarding. I'm not so sure they learned that much from me, but I certainly learned a lot from them, particularly when they went on break, because, you have your in-class persona, how you act in class. We all have that. Then you have the out-of-class persona. And their out-of-class persona is when they were in the hallway and they were talking to each other about different places they had knocked off in New York City. And some of them overlapped and they were at the same place at the same time. They had robbed someplace. Then the guys come back into class after the break and they start talking to me and smiling like, oh, that's nothing, But I learned a lot. And I was kind of a participant observer in anthropology in the truest sense that I was kind of part of them. But I always liked it when I left that night and I heard this big click behind me and I was going on my card off to my home and I didn't have to spend the night at the prison, fortunately. But it was a really rewarding experience, very rewarding.
Interesting. Rewarding, and I'm sure very different than working at Montclair State.
And still, you're learning,
definitely. Definitely, yes. Now, very different than Montclair State. If you can teach in prison, you can teach just about anywhere.
Well, there you go. I guess that's the standard.
Yeah. I mean, it's, they're not in there for, jaywalking. So
yeah,
you have a lot to think about when you're in a correctional facility.
Of course. Yeah. So many college students struggle with procrastination. As a man with 24 degrees, what is your process for managing time? I know I struggle with it personally, because not only do you study, but you also teach classes. So where in your time do you find the time to study and maintain?
Well, fortunately for me, and this may sound like a bit of hyperbole in my part, but for the last 40 years or so, I've been sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night.
Wow.
And the fact is, I do have an enormous amount of energy, and I'm kind of one of these guys that ideally believe the only time you should sleep is when you're really exhausted. And the only time you should eat is when you're really hungry. Now, I violate eating all the time. Just about every time I sit down, I want something to nibble on. I don't know in a Freudian sense what that makes me, but I always have that need. But when it comes to sleeping, I think there's a lot of research in sleeping, and I kind of am aware of it, but it works for me. And as a result of that, I feel that if you really want something badly and you kind of project into the future, how are you going to feel when you have achieved this? Naturally, you feel good. But the real thing that motivates me is how am I going to feel if I don't achieve this? And I don't want to go there. So I really keep my head down, try to keep very self-disciplined, and really look at things as though it's not dreams that I want to achieve, because dreams are a biological process that happens anyhow, and it happens with an ant. You can't go tonight and say, I won't dream. Dreams are not synonymous with goals, because goals show a certain level of seriousness that I'm going to quit smoking, and I can tell you the date and time. I'm going to get my bachelor's degree, and I can tell you the date and the time. People will take you more seriously when you don't confuse the two, dreams and goals. It's nice to dream. It's better to have a goal that you're actually trying to achieve.
Oh yeah. I don't know how you live without the sleep, because I I could sleep 12 hours at a time.
No, knowing college students, one thing we love to do is sleep when we can. So that's very commendable that you can run on 3 to 4 hours of sleep. Like, you must have a lot of energy.
Well, I do. And both of you, I take it, are probably undergraduates.
Yes.
Well, you'll get less sleep when you go to graduate school. You're not going to have much choice there. You'll get less
Amazing.
sleep.
Looking
You'll spend
forward
some
to it.
times at 2:00 in the morning if the library's open that long. You'll spend
Ecstatic.
some times, and then you'll have a 6:00 to have to get up at 6, and you'll have an 8:00 major test, and you'll be able to do it. I tell my students, you're writing a paper now. Oh, it's 10 pages. Oh my gosh, they say. I said, look, 15 years from now, 5 years from now, years from now, you'll be writing a 300-page paper, and we call that a doctoral dissertation, and you won't believe it, but you'll be ready for it at that time. It just seems ridiculously difficult at this time, but at the time you come to it and you're fulfilling a passion, it won't even seem like work, or it will be work that's worth doing, because it really kicks in to your self-esteem, self-efficacy, however you want to refer to that, even though the two are quite different in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And considering all of your experience, like, that's a really insightful piece of information. And speaking on insight, do you have any advice that you would give to college students who are struggling currently with just maybe completing their undergraduate degree?
Yeah, I would say to them that, this is kind of a transition in your life that's difficult for all of us. And we can talk about, Generation X and this generation and baby boomers and all that. But whenever you're a young person making a transition to adulthood, it's really difficult to do. And sometimes you got to hang in there, even if what you're doing seems purposeless. You got to realize that when you're 18, you're going to feel differently at 27. You're going to be differently at 24. And you really want to look at that grade transcript, that it really means something. And it's something that's not going to easily be changed. So you really got to doggedly pursue. And tenacity, being tenacious is really the word. You have to really pursue it. It doesn't matter if you feel you have a lot of brains or not. Almost any college student has enough brains to do well. But it's being tenacious and really being stubbornly determined to go through that process, realizing that a few years from now, you may be happy you did, because now you want to go back to graduate school after having a pretty bad job or two and realizing there's not much there. And you go back there, you may be plenty bright, but you got a bunch of C's, you got some D's, and, God forbid you have an F or two. And, those are courses you could have passed. So even if things seem tough now and your life is tough now, you will get through this. But you have to realize that grade transcripts really it sticks with you. Money comes and goes. The grade transcript sticks with you. And if you're interested in graduate school, particularly if you're going to go on and become either an educator or at least an educated person, it's going to matter to you. So even if you can't find your way at 18 or 19, you'll feel differently at 22 and 23. That's a sure bet.
Thank you so much for that feedback.
Yes, thank you so much.
And my last question is that of all the degrees you have obtained, what is the most important to you, if there is one? What has become the most valuable to you in terms of information, experience, what have you?
Well, it's really interesting. I would say I'd answer that maybe a couple of semicolons on my answer to that, if you'll
just a few.
Give me the liberty. I think that getting my PhD was kind of the big thing, because that was a real struggle and it was a lot to get through. It wasn't only getting through the academics, which I usually do pretty well at, but maneuvering some of the professors' personalities that kind of have you hostage. So sometimes they can not always be that fair. It's, everybody goes through their doctoral wars. But I think to answer the question more directly, it'd probably be my Doctor of Medical Humanities, because I did a lot of work on psychiatric social research and looking at a lot of the psychiatric therapies. It was really fascinating me to see that, and also to see how different therapies kind of coincided with different politics of the time. The more positivistic we were, the more right-wing we were, the more Republican we were, the more we kind of mistrusted teachers, had to make sure they were doing their jobs, and more medication. And then the more psychotherapy came along and talk therapy and sort of that sort of thing, even though they were kind of coupled with medication, the more we kind of relied on educated people. We kind of saw things in the nuance and the gray areas of life. not yelling about, oh, the taxpayers aren't, spending too much for education. Educational unions are too powerful, blah, blah, blah. So there's both left and right wing, and they both have good points, even though I feel strongly about one or the other. And of course, my comment initially about Michelle Obama kind of gives you an idea where my politics are. But no, I think it's really important that people have accounting for their own life. And you can only make so much money. And imagine somebody who does have a lot of money, yet they're still pretty miserable. Where do they go from there? It's like, you can always say, if you're not that happy, well, maybe more money will make me happy. But if you already have a good income and you're not happy, gee, there's some piece missing here. I don't think I'm going to have to ask myself. I'll probably always be missing that piece of the pie when it comes to money. But it's also what you do with the money that counts, not simply that you have X amount of dollars.
All right. Thank you. Well, on that note, thank you so much for your insight and your feedback and your experience here today. We appreciate you joining us. And from Morning Buzz to you, we wish you the best of luck on all of your further degrees in your education. And we really, really hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Dr. Segriff.
And who knows, maybe
Okay.
we'll catch up with you again.
Okay, thank you very much. And go Michelle Obama. Have a nice rest of the day. Thank
You
you.
too. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye now.
And on that note, we are going to go on a quick break here on the Morning Buzz. And then when we come back, we have our favorite segment of the week, Seasons of Ian Love. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back here on the Morning Buzz.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you want to come and text us, if you love them enough to turn on your music.
Hold on, MetaMates. I got you, MetaMates. We are back here on the Morning Buzz. And you just heard, if you were listening, an interview with Dr. Joseph Segriff. But now we are moving on. Yes, we are moving on to Seasons of Ian Love. I'm not going to do the rest of that.
That was
but
good.
I thought that was cute, right? Good
That
little
was
moment.
super cute.
Thanks. I tried.
Standing
Ian?
ovation.
Yeah. So, hello, I'm Ian Love, and this is your theater news of the week. So, shows opening this week off Broadway, we first have at the Roundabout Theater Company in Laura Pell's Theater, The Wanderers, which opens on February 16th. It is written by Anna Ziegler and directed by Barry Edelstein, with a cast featuring Katie Holmes, Sarah Cooper, Lucy Freyer, and more. And the show is about two characters, Esther and Shmuley, who are Orthodox Jews and are newly married. And their future is written in the laws of the Torah. And along with that, we also have a show opening called The Jungle at St. Anne's Warehouse. It's opening on February 18th, 2023. It is written by Joe Murphy and Joe Robertson, directed by Stephen Daldry and Justin Martin. And it has a cast featuring Ben Turner, Yasmin Radi, Jonathan Yadi, Dominic Rowan, and more. And the play follows the lives of the characters living in the Calais jungle migrant camp. On Broadway, opening this week, or neither of these shows are opening, but they are starting their previews this week. First, we have A Doll's House at the Hudson Theater. First preview on February 13th, so 2 days ago. And it stars Jessica Chastain, Ariane Moayed, and more. And it is written by Henrik Ibsen, who's the playwright, and the newer version was written by Amy Herzog. It's directed by Jamie Lloyd, and it's a very acclaimed show based on it's a older drama that is being revitalized for a modern audience. And also preview starting this week, we have Bad Cinderella at the Imperial Theater. First preview February 17th. I knew that would get a reaction. So it's starring Lindy Janau, Carolee Carmello, Grace McLean, and more. And the music is written by Andrew Lloyd Webber, lyrics by David Zippel, and the book by Emerald Fennell, directed by Lawrence Connor. And it's Andrew Lloyd Webber's latest musical. It's just a modern retelling of the Cinderella story, reversing some of the gender norms and a more feminist retelling.
Because we haven't seen that before.
No,
ever.
never before.
So crazy.
As for shows that are closing on and off Broadway within the next week, on Sunday the 19th, we have the departure of the Immortal Jellyfish off Broadway at 59E59 Theaters, a theater that we have talked about a couple times on this segment. It was written and directed by Gurjan Waj and Gwendolyn Warnock, and it tells a story. It takes place in 2555, and a large amount of the Earth's surfaces are dead zones, devoid of life, and global extinction has begun. And yet there's still hope in this age of loneliness and pure chaos and destruction. And that is the only show that appears to be closing. So moving on to the news that we have. First off, we have a new casting announcement coming to Broadway, with Jessica Chastain returning to Broadway, or she is made to return to Broadway in A Doll's House, like we just mentioned, on February 13th. The 16-week limited run of the show opens on March 9th officially, but like we said, previews have already started, so good to see her coming back. And as for other news, we have a new cast recording for Kimberly Akimbo, which released on February 14th. And Victoria Clark and Justin Cooley head the new cast album from the team of David Lindsay Abair and Janine Tesori. And it features some tracks like Skater Planet, Anagram, Happy for Her, and Hello Baby, among many others. And moving on, in a big piece of theater news this week, we have Broadway theater companies Juja, I can never pronounce it. So
Jujamycin?
I think that's it. I think you've done it.
Jujamycin and the Ambassador Theater Group are joining forces. So the New York Times reports that the two companies will combine operation and that the combination will expand the Broadway footprint of the Ambassador Theater Group, which is one of the UK's largest theater landlords. So Ambassador Theater Group is fairly new to the scene, and it's now getting to work with the 5 theaters that made Jujamycin known for being the smallest theater owning group on Broadway. For they only own the 5 theaters that are the August Wilson, currently home to Funny Girl, St. James, soon to be the home to New York, New York, the Al Hirschfield, which is currently the home of Moulin Rouge, the Walter Kerr, currently home to Hadestown, and the Eugene O'Neill Theaters, which is currently home to Book of Mormon. The current president of Jujamycin, Jordan Roth, will be a new creative director of the company, as well as its largest individual shareholder. And in a fun little bit of news, on February 10th, Mariah Carey made a guest appearance at the show Some Like It Hot on Broadway. Now, this is the first time that she has spoken publicly about the show, even though she has been tied on as a producer. And luckily, she had a lot of great things to say about the production after seeing it on the 10th. So moving on to just some points of discussion. What are thoughts on popular celebrities producing Broadway shows? We saw it with, I believe, Jennifer Hudson on Strange Loop, Mariah Carey on Some Like It Hot.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting because it depends, I think, on the production, the celebrity, etc., because this isn't like a one-size-fits-all type of thing. but I do get concerned when like a particular show has been on Broadway for a little bit and you're kind of just now seeing it and you're a producer. Hasn't some like it happened out for a little bit
I
here on
think
90.3
it's
WMSC Upper
new.
Montclair?
You
Throw that in.
So,
I don't-
I think
yeah,
I have.
it's
I have
definitely new.
opinions.
It's definitely new. I feel like her going to see it right now. A little late to the game, lady. But
I mean, but she's only. This is the first time she's spoken publicly about it. So you got to remember, like some people are
Okay.
low key, like theater.
So
You
yeah,
know?
it's
I know I was.
But why be a producer? But why be a producer?
Maybe that's what
your
she
name's
wants
on
to
the credit.
do.
sometimes you can be a producer and have absolutely no involvement with the final product and have no opinions on it, I guess. It
I
did.
guess.
It started previews November 1st, opened on December 11th.
Uh-huh.
So it has been on for a little bit now.
I think where I'm going with this is that I have a little bit of an issue with a celebrity taking the producer credit without having that much involvement with the show, because it kind of just seems like a little bit of a cop out. But it also depends on the celebrity and like if they want to be super involved with the show, you know what I mean? We don't know like what happened behind the scenes and how involved Mariah Carey was. I do see it as a little bit of a red flag that we're in February and you're just now seeing your show. Like that's a little
Yeah.
She also might have been busy.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because Mariah Carey
Busy
during the
that maybe you
winter.
shouldn't take on.
During the winter,
True.
she got that
During
one
the winter,
song.
she defrosts.
She
Well, here's the
defrosts.
thing.
She has that one song going.
Maybe her involvement was more early on in the process before it went to Broadway, and just because of that, they kept her on as a producer. Because I know that being a producer of Broadway shows is a way that a lot of celebrities obtain EGOT status. Is how they get their Tony Awards, is through producing a Tony-winning show.
That's true.
That's a cop out.
I don't think it's a cop out at all.
That's a cop out. Oh, I got my Tony from producing. I gave like a bunch of money to this show and then left.
Yeah, my Tony.
That's a cop.
I think
You're not doing
But I do
anything.
think it depends on the celebrity, because I wholeheartedly agree about that notion being true. But I also, on that same note, Jennifer Hudson with A Strange Loop, I know for a fact that she was putting her entire heart into that production as well.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
is this show that Mariah Carey is producing gonna get a Tony anyways?
It's
That
definitely
we
gonna get
don't know.
nominated. Some of my friends saw it. They said it's pretty good. So it's
Okay,
Christian
and Jimmy
Borle.
Hansen was nominated for a ton of awards and then won like none back then in the day.
Dear Evan Hansen won all the awards.
Yeah.
No. Like
Yeah.
a while back they won
Fight,
none.
fight,
Yes.
At the Tonys?
At the Tony?
Yes.
Are you
The
kidding?
Tony?
Swear.
I
Swear. They were up for like 9
fact
awards
checking.
and they won like 2.
They won 6.
Mhm.
What's
We
are you
just
thinking of
got
a different
fact
show?
checked.
Are you talking of Great Comet?
No.
Great comment had
That's a good comment.
SpongeBob,
Me-
Beetlejuice,
Oh. There was
Good
one that was
shows.
like nominated for like a ton of things and then like
It was
won
probably
nothing.
SpongeBob.
No.
Yeah.
Sponge.
Strange
It wasn't
Loop.
SpongeBob. No. I
Ian
don't
is
even
about
care
to come
Strange
across
Loop.
this table.
He's about to attack me.
I was gonna
So
say,
West-
Dear Evan
So funny
Hansen
'cause I
won a
love
lot.
Dear Evan Hansen, so like it's not my personal.
That's a hot
opinion.
take.
Yeah, I like Dear
West Side
Evan
Story
I
music
love
is
Dear
gonna
Evan
start
Hansen.
playing.
Anyways, we're
This
gonna
is
move
so-
on because I'm done. Being
I-
attacked for literally no reason, but
Well, let's
whatever.
talk something else. Bad Cinderella. You know how passionately I feel about Bad
Well, we're
Cinderella.
gonna talk about Bad Cinderella.
Every week it's something else about
every
Bad
week.
Cinderella.
Guys, I'm excited for Bad Cinderella. I don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
she bought an NFT, anyways.
Yeah,
I forgot
I'm
about
waiting
that.
for the other
I'm
part.
excited for my stocks to grow.
I've decided that we're done talking about
Bye bye.
Bad
so
Cinderella. So get your final ugh out, and then we can.
Ugh.
Beautiful, lovely. Now let's move on to hour 2 here on WMSC Upper Montclair. It's National Gumdrop Day. Did you guys know that?
I did it.
I want to eat a gumdrop now. I didn't know that was today. I don't
I
know.
don't even know.
Maybe go to the store. I don't know.
To the gumdrop store. I
The
don't know.
gumdrop store. I
The
don't know.
gumdrop.
I don't know.
I don't know
Don't
too
look
much about it. I just know that it's a thing.
You drop in the
So-
gums.
You drops a gums,
drops a gum on-
gummin and dropping. Anyways, Ella. Hello,
Yes.
lovely.
Hello.
Would you like to give me your news update for the second half?
I would love to. So, for today's news, we have the large and long-standing Subway Corporation is making its biggest menu changes ever, including new ingredients and new sandwiches. These changes will include better quality ingredients and more innovative sandwich options, which will result in an increase in price. New Jersey Governor Phil Murray is currently working to expand the AP African American Studies program. This would include expanding to 26 schools across the state. And as for weather, right now it's 43 degrees and cloudy. Today we have a nice high of 64 and a low of 39. Back to you.
Thank you so much. The weather today is going to be so insane.
I know.
64.
I'm a little scared if I
Crazy.
dressed appropriately, but
I don't know. This morning, me and Tyra were walking to the station and it was freezing. And I was like, I'm just going to wear my denim jacket because, it's going to be 64 today. And I was freezing the entire walk. So
yeah, it was a lot.
thanks, weather.
Thank you, Heather.
I appreciate y'all.
I think the man is
He's ready. He's
brewing.
waiting.
Do you
He's
know
waiting.
what goes good with what good
I
weather?
don't know. I don't know. You're really brewing right now. I should just leave. you
Some
waiting.
sports.
There you go.
Yes. All good weather comes with good sports, but hockey. Last night, the NHL, the New Jersey Devils won 3-2 against the Blue Jackets. And tonight, the New York Rangers will be facing the Vancouver Canucks at 10. In the NBA tonight, the Brooklyn Nets will be facing the Miami Heat at 7:30. And at the same time, the New York Knicks will be playing the Atlanta Hawks at 7:30. So I'm excited for those two games. And we're only 9 days away from spring training. That's baseball, people, on February 24th. Go Yankees. Just to spite you, Victor.
Pictures in the corner so mad right now.
Oh my gosh.
And tonight, in Montclair sports news, the men's basketball team will be going to Glassboro, New Jersey to face off Rowan at 7:30. And also for the women's basketball team, they'll be going to Glassboro, New Jersey to face Rowan at 5:30 p.m. I've been Alex. Go Yankees. This has been sports.
Go, man. The Yankees suck.
Or
Hey.
hear me out. Go Phils.
Oh,
Or hear me out. Go Dodgers.
Go.
Dodgers.
Have no.
Ian has no
Ian's
purpose.
like,
But
"Go
hear me
Phils."
out. Just don't watch in general.
How about
If you
Go.
want.
go Bert?
No, we're not doing
not
that right
not
now.
anymore.
Bert.
I'm a little heartbroken.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Hey Gabby. So
As I quake in my boots.
I'd love to hear Alex try and produce Glassboro because he really just struggles for a second and then he goes, "It's Glassboro."
It's
And then he
Glassboro.
kind of figures it out. I just want to.
that's just how my brain processes
You're like
words.
in gloom.
Glassboro.
The no W really throws me off.
Why?
I don't know.
Where would W be in Glassboro?
Like burrow?
Burrow. Hey, listen, I don't choose where the W's go.
Trouble with that, but we have places like what are those?
Secaucus,
Secaucus.
Padawan,
Totowa.
not Padawan. Texas. That's Pennsylvania, bud.
I was about to say, is that PA?
Yeah, that is PA.
That's where Phil's from.
Oh my gosh. Phil may be from Punxsutawney, but I'm from South Jersey. I don't know.
I was like,
I
where
don't know where I'm
is he
going with
going?
that. I really thought I had something and then I didn't. But guess what, guys?
What?
We have a segment this week, and I'm very excited for it. No, but it's different from our normal segment.
How so?
Normally we do Montclair State Confessions, but today we are doing dating advice in honor of
Ooh.
Valentine's Day being yesterday.
The heartbreak holiday.
We're gonna
But you know what today is? Half off candy day.
Oh.
that's
75% if you're lucky.
reformed right there. My heart has been healed by sweet candy.
Might pop up on CVS later just to see the options they have.
See the chocolates, the boxes of chocolates.
Chocolate.
Look, if I can
I
get a
hate it.
$1 Russell Stover box of assorted chocolate, I'm gonna be happy.
Okay,
That's
but
real.
the toffee ones,
Ooh,
those are my favorite. Anyways, let's move on to dating advice before I go talk about chocolate for an hour. So these are not our personal experiences. These are stories from anonymous people who submitted to Reddit, and we're gonna give them their advice if they're listening because they obviously need it by some of these stories.
Yeah.
So the first story, or asking for advice, I don't know, is I'm talking to a guy who didn't make any plans for today. We've been seeing each other for a few months now, and I was expecting for him to ask me out for Valentine's Day, but he hasn't. He did text me happy Valentine's Day and told me he's lucky to have me, but he didn't ask me to see him or anything. I'm disappointed. Should I tell him how I feel? Girl, boy, I don't know who you are.
Bankrupt. No
I'm
money on his
thinking-
card.
I'm thinking you should tell him how you feel.
Yeah,
Right?
no, for
I
sure.
mean, if you feel feelings, express them.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
I think because you've been seeing him for a couple months, there's a lot of questions I have. Like,
I have tons.
is this when you say talking to a guy?
Is it just like casual talking?
yeah? Is it
Or is it
official?
like you're exclusively talking?
right? Like, what's going on?
That sounds like
Yeah.
a horse thing. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But there's a lot of questions to be had. Like, maybe you need to figure out where you stand with this person if they weren't really thinking about spending time with you on Valentine's
Yeah.
Day. Like, that's a big deal for the most part if you're talking to somebody for a few months. Like, I don't
And they
know,
don't
like,
even bother
yeah.
to bring anything up.
If you're gonna say that you're lucky to have this person, so the guy,
That's a kicker.
okay, yeah. So the guy said that he's lucky to have this person that wrote this confession. So now my question is, were they already planning to hang out on Valentine's Day? Is this a thing of, oh, didn't make plans? Okay, I'm looking at the title now. If it was a case where the guy didn't ask, hey, would you be my Valentine? That would be a little more understanding, because honestly, sometimes we are oblivious and we just completely forget that we can ask that to somebody that we've already been seeing.
I don't know about that.
No,
I
that's
think
wrong. That
that's
is
immediate.
wrong. I am
Need to.
I'm sorry.
Alex,
Okay.
I
So
love Alex.
what I have very much learned about Valentine's Day very recently.
That's so much Riz.
What I've
Those are
very
weird.
much learned, it doesn't matter if it's your wife, it's your girlfriend, it's a person you've been seeing for 3
Mm.
months that you don't have a title. If asked them before, I almost made this mistake, fellas and ladies and everybody else. You gotta do it.
It was a big no-no, wasn't it?
It
Alex?
was almost a very big problem for Alex,
Oh
but
yeah.
so just like go get a cheap stuffed animal and ask them, and
Literally.
then just like, I don't know, spend some money on.
Especially on the case of women, like we're so easy to please, and I think that's what men forget is like you
where's
could
that
literally-
rocket science? Truthfully.
Literally, you could get me one singular rose, and I'd be like fawning, like
Like-
that. That's it.
And like Pinterest is so real. Like,
Those literally write me a heartfelt card, okay?
yeah,
that's it. That's
yeah,
all I need.
truthfully. Like, thank you for that advice to the people, Rizzler Braun.
Yeah, I
Rizzler Braun.
retract my statements. This is coming from somebody whose last relationship was 5 years ago. So do not take any dating advice from me.
Rizzler.
No, I am not.
Be the best of dating advice, though.
Ian was
If my last
saying-
one was love.
Dr. Love. I can't be calling you Dr. Love if you're not gonna give proper dating advice. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to find a
No, live up to your
nickname.
I know. Do you know how many times I'm told that? Oh.
Yeah, I know, I'm
I-
sure. And I'm telling you it again.
Actually, I give pretty good dating advice for somebody who does not date.
I get that.
I think it's the name.
No, I
Honestly, I think it's the
They
name.
go to the love doctor. They're looking for healing.
get that. See, but that's always the case is that the friends who aren't in a relationship or don't have like anything going on in their lives give the best advice. And then those who are in relationships are like, I don't know what to tell
I
you.
was once that friend. and
I am
now
still that friend. I always give the advice. It's always been. But anyways,
I want to take the next one.
take the next one. Take it
Alright,
away,
So
Terber.
this next one is quote. I have no idea how or when to ask out this girl I like from uni. We just started 2 days and this girl is going to be in my group for the next few years. I've only spoken to her once by total luck. Do I play the long game and hope I get lucky that I'm in her class before I ask her out? Do I ask her out tomorrow? I'm so lost. She always is with her friends, so I never get the chance to talk to her alone. I don't want to come on too strong. Okay.
Here's my advice. Don't wait for the class because then if you don't get in that class with her, it's done.
Yeah.
It's over.
Opportunity. gone.
And I think take your opportunities while you have them,
Mm.
even to get her number and start in a friendly way. Do your thing. Pop off. I think making moves is the only way you'll ever know anything.
Yeah, that's so true. And I'm the type of person who's always been like, if I've ever been attracted to somebody, I want to be their friend first because that's just how I am.
Yeah.
So that's usually a pretty good in. Be like, hey, like I notice we're in the same class. I'm trying to make more friends. Like, you want to exchange information? Do you like what's your Instagram? Like things like that. Like that's a nice in. So then you have a point of contact.
Pick up on something she said. You know?
Yeah, like it's a lot about listening and stuff like that. And even when she's with her friends, I think it would be still fine to go
Yeah.
up to somebody and be like, hey guys.
Literally be like, hey, I heard you talking about your 2 cats. I love cats. Can I see a picture? Let's exchange numbers. Like,
No, like that's a
boom.
good in though. And on top of that, right? How do I word this? I just feel as though, like you were saying, there's no way that you are going to be feeling like this and you like have to wait this long. And because if you wait too long, like your opportunity is gonna pass and then you're just gonna go with the what if.
And then she's gonna be in another relationship and you're gonna be like,
oh well.
Like
You
that's
know?
on you. You waited too long.
And the key to this, right? And I am not a strong advocate in my own right because I am not cool, but you have to be cool. You know,
You
what
gotta
I mean?
have that Riz. You gotta be Alex Braun.
Yeah, you gotta
What?
you gotta be the Rizzler Braun over here.
Yeah.
Wooing,
Okay,
wooing
I give
women.
Wooing women.
I give bad dating advice. No for myself, but for other people.
Well, do you not have a boo?
I do.
Then there you go.
Yeah,
Some
but
of us in the studio do not, so you've got it.
Gabby starts crying.
no, this
Struggling.
this exact situation was kind of happening to my friend in high school, and he was like in freshman year. He's like, I want to ask this girl out, but I don't know because we're gonna be in like partners for the next couple of years. So I was like, man, you shouldn't do it. I was like, be honest with you.
Yeah, that's really bad advice.
Yeah, it's like we're freshmen in high school. Something could go wrong.
No, shoot your shot is my.
And then now they started dating in senior year of high school. So I kind of just pushed it back a couple of years. And they've been dating for 2 years now. So
Okay, my advice is one, I feel like most girls will not like say no to like a cute little like date, you know? So just go for it if it's a cute date.
Unless you're creepy.
Well,
Unless
yeah,
you're
yeah,
thinking
but
about
like,
it, you gotta be, this is
but if it's
assuming
like
they're cool.
yeah, exactly. And then also I am such a believer in like the long game. So I get it.
agree. You gotta put your pieces in the right places.
Yeah.
You know? Like that's why I'm like a friends to
Yeah,
friends to
exactly.
lovers thing.
Don't
I
Slow
mean,
burn.
Don't like
I'm a slow
yeah,
burn
it's
girl.
long game,
I
slow
love a good
burn.
slow
Don't
burn.
like
It's
force it out of the gate.
You can't
I love a
come on
good
too
slow
strong.
burn story. That's my favorite trope.
So I think that I agree with what everybody's been saying. If you find yourself in this situation, I think the best thing to do is first find a way to get in contact with this person that does not show your intentions at first. Something where it's like, hey, we're in the same class, or maybe you talk with the group the one day and you all exchange socials. Something where it can be seen as innocent at first. And then from there, develop.
You make your mark.
No. And then from there, you reach out more and you start to talk to them more. And there's a couple things you can do. I saw once to get somebody to take more interest in you. I don't know if any of them work, but stuff like using their name when you talk in conversations, looking at them, eye contact.
Psych guy, like it's
Oh,
like
I love
come
this
to
psych
you
stuff.
here. I see
yeah.
So stuff like that.
Raise their shoulder.
Yeah, stuff.
like that.
Well, once
give them
you
a
get once you get
compliment
a
sandwich.
once you get a feeling
know.
of whether or not, if they start to be friendly back to you, then you can start going forward with more incidental moments of physical contact where it's like, oh, sorry that I accidentally bumped into you there.
Oh, I
And
see.
just keep on pushing, not pushing the boundary, but keep on testing the waters until you can get a good gauge on whether or not it's something that you think could legitimately happen. And then put it out on the line. And the worst they can, if your goal should be at the point where you lay it out on the line, that if the other person says no, then you can still continue being friends with them if that's what you wish.
That's true. where it's
Yeah.
like recoverable.
Yeah.
I like that.
Or get it mind games. You gotta mess with
I
them,
mean,
though.
just realistically, like if you're friends with somebody,
Nuts.
realistically, if you're friends with somebody first and then like things don't work out romantically, then like why can't you just still be friends after?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because like if it didn't work out romantically, but you were great as friends, who cares?
Mhm.
You know?
And the thing about always being, they mentioned that she's always with her friends. Talk to her friends then. Show that you're not just there for her, that you're open to
Yeah.
being friends with a lot of people and to being friends with her friends, because that's a good sign in a person
Yeah.
is
That's a good
being
angle.
friendly and not accommodating, but
Just
a
open.
word,
Yeah.
open to meeting new people, and similar to when you share her interest, enjoying the things that she enjoys,
Which
being
would
friends
be
with
her
the people.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I like that little diagnosis from the love doctor.
Yeah, that was a cute little diagnosis.
That.
I rock with it. Also, friend group hangouts are the way to go. Anyways, we're gonna move on. That was my last piece of advice. Sorry, do you have a last piece of advice?
Today is love. I love today. Love each other. That's my
Cute.
advice.
You're so cute.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else before we move on?
Long game.
The long con.
Ick.
Long game.
Anyway.
Don't wait until Valentine's Day to treat your
My
partner.
advice. My advice. Actually, don't listen to Alex.
It's the long con. Just like be okay. Just shut me down.
Your first mistake is calling it a con.
That time, we're gonna take a quick break here on the morning buzz, and when we come back, we're gonna be moved on from this because Alex is done. Anyway, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
One day, I'll teach chemistry to kids.
I'm going to be an architect.
And we are back here on the morning buzz. Yes, we are. We have all these entertainment stories. I hope you're ready. Just in case you forgot, I'm Gabi Lutz, joined by my co-host Terry Dickerson. Also in studio with us, we have Ian Love, Ella Rising, and Alex Braun, the Rizzler, who's not really risen, but whatever. And so we're gonna get into it. So if you didn't know, this past weekend was the big game, and I am very upset that my team lost. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
But the Kansas City Chiefs were banned from watching Rihanna.
As they should be.
Which everybody was watching Rihanna. If you weren't watching Rihanna, what were you doing?
Go Riri. Go Riri. Go Riri.
Okay. Without a doubt, everyone watched it. I'm telling you, it was crazy. Except for the NFL champions. Before they won the game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's the news. You know?
So
Stop
sad.
it. Victor, that hurt to read. You're evil. Anyways, the Chiefs went to the lockers but could not see Riri sing "Where Have You Been?" Quarterback Patrick Mahomes said, and quote, "Coach Andy Reid told us if you go out to watch the performance, just keep walking because you're not playing the rest of the game." End quote. Well, maybe they needed a hype up moment. I don't know. But at the time, the Chiefs were down 10 points, and many would think that's how they won and beat the Birds. Okay. I hate that you keep bringing it up that they beat the Birds. Honestly, I don't know. Like, I'm just mad now. No, I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that.
I'm gonna make this a quote from Victor.
Quote from Victor Luis Rosa.
He said, and quote, "Bird should have practiced instead of enjoying the halftime show. Look at Mahomes with the trophy. Could have been Bird glory. You guys messed up." End quote. Victor Muniz Rosa.
You know what really hurts my soul is that this man doesn't even care about football, and he just wants to see me suffer.
This man is just
evil. No.
I'm a baseball fan, so I don't care about football.
He's a
But
Mets fan.
But he loved to
Yankees.
sit next to me watching the Super Bowl and completely clown me the entire time. I'm literally sitting there, blanket over my eyes, like I can't watch, and they're all just making comments at me,
that's
and then
really-
including that quote, thinking I was gonna read that.
That was really inconsiderate. It was
awful.
triggering.
Yeah,
No, I like it.
It's just a game.
You know,
No, it's not.
You're just a game, okay?
Whoa.
Oh, got him. Boom.
Um,
But you know what? I think it's interesting to have banned them for watching Rihanna because
I think it's funny.
it's funny. You know, like it's kind of like they got grounded.
Yeah. It's like a
No,
middle school
you're
punishment.
doing badly. You're in timeout.
no Rihanna for you.
Time out. I would have sobbed if
No
my
seeing
coach-
Rihanna's comeback. You're done.
You know, how
Imagine she
triggering?
was like your favorite artist ever, and this was like gonna be the first
I
time
would
you got
crawl
to see
on the
her.
ground sobbing,
I'd be
begging
so
and pleading with the coach.
I'd be like, I guess I'm leaving.
No, literally. Yeah.
They're being paid to like play football, not
Yeah.
like watch. I don't know. Whenever I played sports, like we always had like our halftime like meeting. There was never like.
Did you have
frolicking.
Rihanna?
Did you? Yeah.
No, you're right. You're
But
right.
I
But
was
like
just saying, you
I'm
didn't
just
have
saying, like,
Rihanna.
theoretically, like
No, but like they couldn't even put it on the TV.
That's fair.
You know, like just as background noise. during
You're
the
so
meeting.
right because like I grew up an athlete too. Like
I've never
I-
frolicked
ob-
during halftime.
Okay,
just
but like, okay,
watch
but,
Rihanna.
but like, we're not frolicking. No, we just want her playing on the TV in the background as hype
Oh, yeah.
music.
I-
Duh.
for sure, whatever I would be doing during this halftime show is not frolicking, but I can't say that on air.
No.
But like truthfully, I get it from an athlete's perspective. Like you gotta focus on like
Yeah.
getting your team together and stuff like that. But like as a fan,
But as
of
a
Miss
Rihanna,
Rihanna.
Maybe I'm biased because I was always the one performing the halftime shows at my school, but I feel like this is just silly. It's not bad, but it feels like when
I
a
mean-
parent, when you're like, when you go to your parent and you're like, hey, on Fridays, can I go to the movies? And your parent's like, I don't know. Your history grade looks like it's a C+ right now. Raise it up to a B- and I'll think about it.
yeah,
It gives that energy, and it's so silly to think about these grown individuals that can pummel me to the ground being grounded
Break
like I
you,
was in
you know,
middle
it's
school.
fine.
that's funny.
But you know, I think also we forget it was also the championship game, so you want
Yeah,
them in the
it's
right
the
head.
Super Bowl.
No, for sure. I completely
big
agree.
And maybe that's what made them win. Who knows?
Yeah, when the
Maybe. No,
Eagles.
I don't want to hear it, Victor.
I didn't say any
But you
team
know,
names.
them win a really horrible call, but we're not gonna get
we're
it.
Many,
A horrible call that
many
wouldn't
horrible
stop the
calls.
rain.
And a lot of holding.
Yeah,
Yeah,
too many,
Yeah.
a little too much.
too
holding.
much.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Literally,
Don't even
What
like
you're
football.
saying.
You don't even like football.
I didn't say that. I'm not seeing people crash into each other and get on the touchdown and stuff. but
You know,
those
you
are
know,
the only two things you know about football.
sports ball. You know,
Literally,
yes,
it's
I love
so
seeing that. I
frustrating.
love when
If I had to see him in a Chiefs jersey one more time, he kept sending me the picture. I was gonna
I
buy
love
it.
the picture of him holding the Eagles balloon.
That's my favorite picture. See, that's okay.
Funny.
That's acceptable.
There is a picture of Victor in a little chair holding a Victor,
An
holding
Eagles
an Eagles
balloon.
balloon,
And what-
not a
But there's
Victor balloon.
also a picture of him wearing Joe Forbes Mahomes jersey, and it's disgusting.
This is
I'm
Victor's
sorry.
cancel
What I,
mark.
what
This
I
is his cancel art.
at the end of the game, the Eagles balloons deflated on the ground, and
Oh.
Victor's sitting on the chair like sad, but doesn't even care.
He's in his
There's the
Del-
picture.
delete it. Delete it. I don't want to
There's
see it. The
the picture
picture
for
for
the
everybody on
Metamates.
Zoom. You can see it. He's pointing at his Mahomes jersey, which is not even his Mahomes jersey.
Tragedy.
And if he had worn that in my household, we would have fought because I'm not having it.
That's so real.
But whatever.
Oh, they're gonna.
yeah.
He's
You can
gonna
show
show
you can
the
leave
other
that
one.
one up. That's fine.
Yeah, but I do get.
And then for those
Look
on
at
Zoom,
him.
that this is Victor with his Eagles balloon.
You so far down in that chair.
G chair.
He's on the ground.
Coming back up. Anyway,
Yeah.
before I ruin any more lives, I need to get into the next aspect of this
I just wanted
halftime
to
show.
this villain era after
Yeah.
this.
But aside from the Chiefs being banned from seeing Rihanna during the halftime show, they did miss a really, really awesome sight. And this was this ASL performer that absolutely rocked the show
I keep
during
seeing her
Rihanna's.
on TikTok.
It's incredible. So it's not we're not talking about Rihanna right now. Rihanna's performance, though great, this ASL performer
Even better.
even better. So this interpreter who helped those who are deaf and hard of hearing enjoy the Apple Music halftime show, there have been videos circulating of this performer, Justina Miles, for her signing of Rihanna's hits. She also helped actress Cheryl Lee Ralph's rendition of Lift Every Voice and Sing during her career. But Miles said, quote, "It's not only for me to share this experience with the whole world, but to really bring the empowerment to millions and millions of Black deaf people all over the country who've never really seen that before." End quote. During the big game broadcast, there were many ASL performers, including actor Troy Coster, who is the first deaf man to win an Oscar. This woman, Justina Miles, you are absolutely destroying the game. And I'm so happy that she went on to say that she really wanted to empower millions of Black deaf people all over the country, just because hearing that and hearing, like, now that she has the platform to speak on it, I'm so glad that she gave the deaf community the spotlight it truly deserves, because it's a community that's often overlooked, and you see that a lot in media production. You know what I mean? A lot of people, or honestly, any production, any event, a lot of people forget about the deaf community and creating experiences for those communities and other disabled communities as well.
Yeah.
And this is just so, it's just so empowering to see the intersectionalities at play when it comes to this. And on top of that, aside from how groundbreaking her just being there is, that girl, she was getting into it.
Oh, yeah.
She put in word.
No, truly, she
Come
was
on.
working for the
She
track.
was.
Like,
And you could tell she was having the time
was
of
with the
her
patience.
life.
honestly, like, I would totally like want to dance with her. Like, her energy was
She's
so,
like,
her energy was so
nobody can see me other than
infectious,
Facebook.
and like she made signing, like, for someone who is hearing it, you could feel the story that she was trying to convey, and that was just like empowering. She would
She was
like,
putting in that Rihanna energy.
yes, and I was just so happy to see her do that, just because we don't get enough representation for disabled communities in the media. So
Yeah.
her being there, girl, you better go ahead. Go
She-
ahead.
She killed it. She really did. She was amazing. And
It
I
was
stand
absolutely
by that.
amazing.
So do we want to, in honor of Rihanna?
Do we have Riri?
Oh, we do have Brie.
Ooh.
Put her on.
It's like diamonds in the
Yeah.
sky.
Shine bright like a diamond.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And we have more stories after we just straight up argued about sports the entire break. Us in sports is crazy, isn't it? You do sports, Alex.
How you said.
Anyways.
Let's that just made me so angry. Anyways, let's talk about America's craziest laws.
I can think of a few.
You can?
Yeah.
So could I. So as a citizen of the United States of America, the most important thing is to follow the law and brush your teeth. True. However, some laws around the United States are really weird.
So real.
One example comes from Arizona. It is illegal to interfere with a claw machine in the Grand Canyon state.
Dang it.
What?
Yeah. Don't interfere with it.
Well,
You
then-
get in big trouble.
Well, then lock me up.
Alex is over here doing all the cheats.
Like, lock me up. I'm conning.
Lock me up. I got that stuffed animal. Okay. The law states, are you guys ready? And quote, no person shall alter the game so the claw is unable to grab prizes, display prizes in a way where the claw is unable to grab those prizes, use money as prizes, or award prizes in the game which are redeemable for cash or currency. End quote. So basically it's helping people out. Because like some claw games,
That's true.
they do the thing where it's like every 10 plays or 20 plays, you win.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm a little pressed about the no money thing because I want to make a little bag.
To make a little bag.
I can't. They won't let me.
Well, you're not in Arizona, so it's fine.
Oh, that's fair.
Okay, next
I like
one.
how they word it like it's like a commandment out of the Bible.
Thou shalt not
That's
prizes.
alter claw.
Law is all.
Okay, are you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
This one's even better. In the city of Meriden, Connecticut, you cannot sell silly string to a minor.
What?
Truth.
I support that.
The law says, and quote, no person shall sell or offer silly string or like products to a minor unless that minor is accompanied by a parent or legal guardian. End quote.
What are like products? Like what?
Like similar things to silly string, I guess, or like off brands of silly string. I don't know.
Interesting.
I just know that if it's spraying and it's a string, you can't sell it to a minor.
Oh,
All right.
It's dangerous.
What happens if you get like a piece of string and just say it's funny? It's silly. It's a little silly piece of string.
This is a fun
What if you get it to
guy.
a minor, Alex?
Yeah.
So
Alex State.
I have to be 18 years or older to buy silly string.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like because it was a specific town, it's probably like a minor did something with silly string and it was really dangerous, and then they just. I can't.
It's funny today.
Oh.
Do you have to show a valid ID? when
Yes.
you
Just like when you have to show valid ID to buy medicine or
What?
alcohol.
Show an ID. Just-
I wonder if
Yeah,
it's like a
medicines,
health
you have to
thing.
show that.
Reminds me of
Hmm.
how in New York they just recently banned anybody under 21 from buying whipped cream.
No,
What?
Yeah.
21 and below, you said?
no.
Anybody below 21 cannot buy whipped
You
cream. in New
you
York.
can't buy whipped cream nitrous cartridges to refill your whipped cream with nitrous.
I'm sorry, you can refill your whipped cream.
Yeah, with the nitrous.
Cool Whip,
like,
you just
I
can't
wouldn't
buy
know.
whipped cream.
You can't buy the little nitrous
That's so funny. You can buy the tubs of the
Cool.
So it's
Cool Whip.
the whoosh.
It's the can.
It's
It's
the-
the can.
I see.
But here's
That
the
was
thing.
good.
I like
That was
if I'm
good.
gonna get whipped cream, you better believe I'm gonna get it in
In
a
the
can.
It's the fun thing.
Yeah.
I just Googled it and Associated Press News says it's false.
Oh.
Not
So
according to my
it
one
was like
friend who lives
the
in New
nitrous
York.
capsules.
It's
Yeah.
exactly. I had to
Really?
Google it just in case. You know,
The
fact
capsules.
checking. I gotta say it's false. It's
I
the
got you,
nitrous
Victor.
right
I
there.
know.
Yeah.
Let's go, Victor.
I wanted to check it up just in case.
Of
So
course,
now you know. Now you know.
I heard
But,
it. I heard it from my
Yankees.
friend who lives in New York, so
Yeah.
they might have
I'm
gotten
walking
the info
here.
wrong.
but Associated Press.
I'll believe Associated Press.
So yeah, keep going. We got more laws.
We do have more laws. So This next one is in Georgia. Ready?
Georgia.
A chicken can't cross the road.
Stop.
I'm not
No.
kidding.
How do they
What-
tell the
what-
joke?
Lock up chickens? Are they gonna send the chickens to jail? Are they gonna find the chickens?
Georgia
And with
has
chicken currency? I don't know, but let's find out. The domestic fowl running at large law said, end quote, it shall be Sorry. It shall be unlawful for any person owning or controlling chickens, ducks, geese, or any other domestic fowl to allow the same to run at large upon the streets or alleys of the city, or to be upon the premises of any person without the consent of such other person. End quote.
This
So
is
wait,
like
pause.
Animalist.
I have so many questions. Why do all the domestic fowl have to be owned by someone? I know plenty of geese that aren't owned by
This is
anybody.
giving oppression. Like seriously. Like
Justice for the animals, guys.
It's pretty
animal-
foul.
Alex, I think you're done. I think I have to turn your mic off because
Why did the chicken cross the road can't happen anymore? Because they're not.
why did the chicken
crossing.
cross the road? Why didn't
It
the chicken
didn't.
cross the road?
Because
Because it's against the
because
law.
it's illegal.
Because the
The
It was a
Mexican legislation.
act of
joke now.
protest.
Why did the chicken cross the road? In act of protest.
The
There you
chickens
go. That's the
crossing
new
the
joke.
geese just having little picket signs down their road.
It's an animal
farm. It's Animal Farm.
Animal Farm.
Good
The
book.
pigs, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
See the
crazy.
movie.
Okay. We have one last law.
Law.
Are you ready?
Lay it down the law.
In the state of Florida, you can't feed the alligators, which actually this one's kind of valid. I can't even lie. So the law is, in quote, no person can feed an alligator unless they are licensed or have to do it for scientific or educational purposes. End quote. Which makes sense because once you feed those gators, they really come back around. And who wants
Oh
that?
yeah, no, they're not like the little squirrels where like you can throw a piece of bread and then they scurry away. Like these.
No. These are
these
big
guys,
gators.
they down for some blood. You know what I mean? Like no, I'm okay. What? Because like what is to say I throw something at them, right? Like a
Yeah.
little piece of food, and they don't come back up for my arm. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Like,
what if they want your arm?
What
Are
if
you
they
not gonna
specifically
you're
want my
not gonna
arm?
give them your arm?
No, not particularly.
Why
Like that's
not?
not. I'm not really interested.
I don't
in
know
doing
why
that.
you're not interested.
I
in that.
love the body that I've been given. You know what I mean? I'm
But
not
so do
gonna
the alligators.
Yeah, they can admire from afar. That's okay.
But what if they want your arm?
They can find
They
someone.
can't even
else.
pay you for it.
No.
No?
But
But
not,
what if you're feeding them? Why can't they?
but the thing is, I'm not. It's
But-
illegal.
But that they want.
I don't
your arm.
condone criminal activity, Gabby.
But do you condone them giving you them? Your
I'm not
arm?
giving them anything.
Well, maybe they're
'Cause
just gonna take it,
I-
and then that's illegal.
Yeah, I'm a law-abiding citizen.
So then we can then lock up the gators,
I-
find them.
Lock 'em up.
maybe,
If
maybe
they take your arm without consent.
I don't know. I feel like that's just called a zoo
know.
at that
Oh.
point.
Oh,
Can you give them Gatorade?
so true. I don't know, I mean,
Gatorade.
I guess
It's
that's
meant
feeding
for
them.
them.
That's
Yeah,
that's
it's meant
giving
for
them.
them.
That's giving
That's-
them.
That's
fluids.
hydrating them,
Electrolytes.
which they
Feeding
need.
them. They need hydration.
Electrolytes.
They're electrolytes.
They're
So
electrolytes, so they
could be
can
more-
properly take off Terry's arm.
right
Yeah, just give them the aid
without
they
my
need.
consent for sure.
So
Well, no, I mean you're gonna condone it
But
because
the
you're gonna feel bad.
I feel like you're missing the part where I
think-
said
I think
no.
I think you can grow another arm.
Yeah, like I identify as a starfish from
I
time
knew
to time.
it.
what am
I knew it.
Do you think
Patrick Star ain't slick.
gators would like to wear Crocs?
No, they hate Crocs.
They look like gator sized Crocs.
Oh wait, no, only crocodiles would wear.
They wear gators,
Oh,
but
can-
they don't wear
Can
Crocs.
we get crocodile sized Crocs?
Mm,
I
I'm
think
sure
that's a good
there
idea.
is one
Mm.
out there.
There's definitely one out
There
there.
might be several. 4 to be
I would
exact
kind of
because
love
there's
that.
4 feet.
There's only 4.
I don't know.
And they come in pairs of, or not pairs,
Quads.
sets of
Quads.
sets of
They
4.
come in quads.
They come in quads.
I don't know.
I think that'd be fun.
What is this conversation?
I would like to
I
see a
don't know, we
gator
need to move on.
Crocs.
You know what? Speaking of moving on,
Let's move on.
how about that
Can we
time,
time travel to the next story?
All right. So Time travel is something everybody has fantasized about once in a while, whatever. Travel back in time to see MLK's I Have a Dream speech, maybe, or maybe see the first Blockbuster open.
The first Blockbuster.
Yeah, that's a pretty historic feat.
That is.
However, one Twitter user took to social media to say King Henry VIII is a time traveler. Yes.
Knew it.
King Henry VIII. What is his proof? The king's shoes.
That's
According
crazy.
to the tweet, he said the king's shoes looked like steak bakes
What
from
is this?
Greg's, a British bakery franchise.
What is
In
this?
his tweet, he wrote, quote, "Why do Henry VIII's shoes look like Greg's steak bake?"
Are you gonna pull up a steak plate?
The bakery chain responded to the tweet and said, quote, "Losing our heads over this," end quote. And
What's a steak
I
bake
get it.
crust? No.
It's
I
like
mean-
a pastry.
Somebody.
It's like-
no.
Victor is
Victor's
showing
showing.
me.
so
Also-
Whoa, this is crazy.
So imagine what a
That's
toaster
not
strudel is,
It's like a toaster strudel.
but full of meat,
full of steak.
full of like
I love
minced
steak.
steak.
It's kind of like an empty.
I would
pizza.
eat it. I would
Really?
eat that
I
up.
want steak.
I want minced steak pie.
Oh,
that
it's
is
literally just a meat pie.
Totally a toaster strudel.
It's a meat strudel.
It sounds disgusting.
It sounds so bad. It is.
I want a meat strudel.
Steak now.
Ooh, a steak
I
quesadilla.
like steak.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Oh, we're comparing it with the
Henry is-
shoe. Okay, then there's that
Oh,
and that.
Okay, for the listeners, I'm gonna try to describe this the best I can. So, truthfully, it
Beautiful.
does look like a toaster strudel, his shoes, but it's like,
His shoes look like you put a foot inside of a toaster.
yeah,
strudel.
like if you cut a hole into a toaster strudel and slid your little foot in, and
Do your little
sees.
You got the
new
toaster
strudel
strudels.
7s.
the toaster strudel eights.
So is the meat in this toaster strudel keeping his feet warm?
Yeah.
Yeah,
As
maybe
long
it's.
as it was preheated. Yes.
It's insulated.
You know what? His dogs are probably
Fresh out the
preheated.
oven.
Yeah.
Fresh out the oven.
But like, where does this go to? Where does this relate to time travel?
Because they say that I think the connection is that King Henry VIII knows about this British bakery franchise and that has been there. And so
and
therefore
he decided to put his feet
Yeah, and he's like, I want that on my feet.
It's like
Yeah.
comes to the
Said, "Yeah, it's gonna
future.
be comfortable."
Yo, say less. Give me 'em. And thus King Henry VIII is allegedly a time traveler.
I think he
Or-
is.
You
I'm
think
convinced.
this is like a
You
Mandela
convinced
effect?
me, and now I want steak, and I believe that King Henry VIII is.
You're telling me he can time travel, and the one thing he does as a time traveler is get these little
Who
pastries.
says
as
that's
his
the one
shoes?
thing though?
Well, meat
That's
patties.
just the one thing we've taken
Little
notice
meat
to.
pies. for
Right,
his
right,
toast.
right. So, Gabby, you do believe this man is a time traveler?
Yep.
All right. So, I think this is a good point to say that CAPS is a resource.
I have a therapist. I just haven't seen her in a while.
Wait, we're forgetting the entire possibility that Greg's looked at King Henry's shoes and said, "We can make that into something."
No, that's true. Did you think they did that on purpose?
No, King Henry VIII time traveled to the future and saw those. It was like, I want those, but shoes.
Saying no, it's like I agree.
Gabby's like, he's just like me, for real.
I want my feet to be that comfortable.
Also, King Henry VIII was like known. Didn't he like kill a bunch of his wives?
Yeah.
That's what the
Yeah.
head's comment is. You know, all
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like,
Divorce.
but like executioner.
well,
Yeah, I think
he said like a whole offer of the
You
same
the
thing.
one that like the musical. is
Yeah,
about.
I know.
Yeah, six.
There's 6 wives.
There you go.
There's-
6.
Beheaded.
Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. It's Anne.
Catherine. They're
Catherine Parr.
they're both named Catherine.
There's a
That's
lot of
embarrassing.
Catherine.
Anne Boleyn.
So there's Anne
she was
Boleyn,
executed.
Catherine of
There's no
Aragon,
Catherines.
Jane Seymour,
There's
Anne of
3.
Cleves, Catherine Howard, and Catherine Parr.
Boom.
The squad.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's a lot of
name it
Catherine.
3 women named Catherine.
Half of them were just because they couldn't provide him with a son.
Guess you could call that an abundance of Catherine.
Oh my
What?
Abundance of Catherines. You're done.
It's a plethora of Catherines.
Plethora of
It's a
Catherines.
book.
It's
I
a
think.
oh,
You know, it's a plethora.
I don't read.
I can't read.
You know, guys, that 31 are too big to fit in a tunnel. I just thought it was time to remove that.
Beep beep.
Choo choo is what I'm doing to the steak bakes because they look delicious. but also that's what trains do. So esta es una historia
That's
que
good.
viene de España.
That was
Did I
good.
say it right? Now translating that is this is a story that comes from Spain. I hated that you did that because I was like so unaware. I was just so unaware that that was about to happen. And I was like was taken aback. Anyway, the Spanish government bought 31 trains
Good.
before they realized they were too big to fit in the tunnels. They're gonna have to like expand the tunnels now. That's like a whole thing.
Fit
That's a
smaller
lot of trains. So you can you return the train?
Return to sender.
That's a good question. So this two senior employees from the Spanish transport industry got fired for the purchase. The trains were going to be used for routes that connect to Cantabria and Asturias region. President of the Cantabria, Miguel Angel Revilla.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it. It's fine. This is an unspeakable botch.
Well, it looks like they're speaking pretty highly about it.
That is so embarrassing. I want to circle back real quick. Shout out to you for keeping up with your Duolingo for that first sentence.
No, I am Duolingo's #1 student.
It's just like my streak.
Actually, I really I haven't done Duolingo in a good minute.
Well, this is
I know
It's coming
There.
Duo is coming for me.
Duo.
It's fair.
but I feel like that's such a
No.
stupid mistake in a sense. You bought 31 trains and you didn't
And
What
you
a
didn't
number.
Size
Yo.
them.
you didn't size them.
You're supposed to get a small, not a medium.
Playing devil's advocate. No, like I can see.
Alex was the one who made the purchase, and he's trying to defend himself now.
Go and buy trains. I'm sorry. That was so like, where do you buy them?
Trains are us.
Trains are us.
So I can see like they're like looking at the blueprints. They just probably were like, we got all this money to spend on trains, and then they like typed into Google where to buy trains.
That's what I'm about to do right now.
And then they hit the first
Trains
link
near me.
and they
question
went,
I
this
don't-
train looks good
Where
enough,
fucking
and wrote 31.
It says Coles.
I think those are
But
model
those are
trains.
models.
Train World.
Train World.
Choo choo.
Choo choo.
Oh,
Train toys is what's
No, but
coming up.
honestly, I can see where they're coming from. Sometimes
trains.
I would like to be fired for buying 31
All
trains.
these are model trains. How am I supposed to buy trains if they're not gonna show me where to buy them?
From a
think-
train
I don't
contracting
think to
company.
buy them. You like have to have them like made, supposedly the right size, but I guess.
You measure your tunnel.
Locomotives for sale, baby.
locomotive.
Let's get a restored MTC G16 train.
Oh yeah.
I want.
Can it take me on a
Wait,
vacation?
they have Thomas.
Not Thomas.
$7,000
For the pair, but it's Thomas and Percy.
Oh,
But is it like life size?
Yeah.
Like
That's what
train
I
size?
would like
Yeah.
to
Like
make a
map.
purchase. All my
That's
awesome.
doubloons are
Guys,
going right into that
We got an
purchase.
MCC Titan reduced to only $14,000.
That's delightful. I'm
Now
putting all my
times that
doubloons into that.
By 31, and I would get totally fired for spending 30 for like $1 million on 31 trains. And I
And
would
then they
not
all be
look
the
back.
wrong size. I wonder if you can return them. I genuinely wonder. But
Hi, I'd like to make a return. Sorry, I don't have a receipt. I was just
What's your
I
guys'
have
return
the
time?
trains though.
I have
The
all
trains.
of
trades that
them.
unused. I just
I
the
can't
receipt, I'm
actually
sorry.
send them to you though because they don't fit in the tunnel.
We can drive them back.
We can
Wait,
drive them
question.
back.
There.
How did they get the trains there if they can't fit in the
It's
tunnel?
Questions that are unanswered.
Maybe
Did they get
don't
airdropped
know.
in?
Airdrop
Maybe they came from a different area.
or like a boat,
Facebook
maybe a boat.
Marketplace.
A boat sounds
like a
cool.
cargo ship.
Yeah, that might
I
be
just
it.
don't get it because like they had to have been like making them. Like I doubt they just have trains lying around. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I think they do.
Really?
because they just bought 31 trains.
But I feel like they would
God.
have.
Ella,
I know, but I'm just saying. Like, I feel like they would have had to have them made.
They definitely
And then,
would
so
have.
how are they the wrong
Yeah,
size?
exactly. They have them.
If you're like custom ordering them,
Like,
like,
they're
that doesn't make
no
any
one
sense.
vetted that. Like, you got to train 30 and you're like, yeah, like these look pretty good. And you got the
40,
31 and
what?
you're like, wait,
they're not. They're
did
not.
anyone
doing-
check?
How do you-
31
How do you mess up
trains.
your job that bad?
I don't know.
Is that your only job is to buy trains?
Somebody
I have
was
so many questions.
they weren't doing their job well enough.
No.
So to overcompensate, they bought 31
Well,
trains.
That's not their job anymore.
But the thing is,
Not
you're
really.
really overcompensating if you're not doing your job well enough again.
who next will be buying the trains? Will he be
Question.
measuring properly?
And how they will get them out of there.
How will we get the trains out? Are they going to like shave them down?
I say let's put them through the tunnel, see what
Any
happens.
questions I don't have the answer to. Can we go over this next story while I just like have a mental breakdown?
Oh, yes. I thought we were stopping and I was like, oh, we have another one. Okay. So this is a vacation gone wrong, right? So just like National Lampoon's Vacation, something went completely wrong here for a New York man. Kingsley Burnett was looking forward to going to Sydney, Australia. However, his flight got delayed and had to book another flight. But when he booked his flight to fly into another city, he booked it for a city named Sydney with an I instead of Sydney with a Y. So his flight was to Sydney, Montana. Burnett shared photos of his unexpected flight to Montana. He said, quote, I had to find out for myself that Billings, Montana would take me to Sydney, Montana, where there are no kangaroos waiting to welcome Mr. Burnett, end quote. Burnett realized he was not going to Sydney when he realized the size of the plane and said, quote, I saw the little plane with like 9 passengers and wondered, how is this going to take me to Australia? In the end, someone at American Airlines got him to the flight to his real destination.
How did you mess that up?
This plot line happened in like 3 Disney Channel shows. I just want to
Yeah.
say. Like, it was in Shake It Up. They went to Paris, Texas. It was in
Oh, that's right.
And Montana.
it was in
You'd
Austin
think-
and Alley.
You'd think people would look at these shows and think, okay, I'm gonna make sure I don't make that
No,
mistake.
for sure.
Exactly.
And Montana, that must stink.
Hannah Montana.
So like
Look at him. He's like, I'm
Oh.
going to Australia. I'm so ready.
For our listeners, Victor's showing a photo of this man, this New York man.
what he's got like a didgeridoo or something?
Not a
No,
didgeridoo.
he's just on the plane.
He's just like, oh boy, time to go to Australia. And he goes,
Like it's off for the last like
Oh.
minute of this show.
I
'cause
think
that
your
was
first issue is
the
going to
didgeridoo.
Australia in the first place. I don't like Australia.
There's a lot of bugs.
Yeah,
There's
that's
big
why I don't like
spiders.
Australia.
Spiders even.
It's real.
Not to circle back, but you can buy a plane. You can't buy a train on Facebook Marketplace, but you can buy a plane. I just
And
looked it up.
therefore, today I will be buying a plane off Facebook Marketplace. And that's all we've got today for the morning buzz here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. Thank you so much for listening to us today. I once again am Gabi Lutz. I have Terry Dickerson, Ian Love, Ella Rising, and Alex Braun. And stay tuned for next week or tomorrow morning if you don't like us enough.
You better like us
Say bye, Alex.
if you want.
Okay, and stay tuned for Forgotten Borough. Floor of the Forgotten Borough. I forgot the first word. My brain just forgotten. It's forgotten. Staten Island Show. Floor of the Forgotten Borough is up next, so stay tuned.